Okay. Welcome back. We're excited to hear about it. The first thing that we'll hit on, obviously we know that you went to Mount Kilimanjaro and you climbed it. What made you want to do this climb?
Yeah, sure. So it was to showcase what we're doing as an organization toward helping people make their difference. And what better to do that than through your own example? And so I was able to make my difference toward myCharity.
Yeah. And what was the planning process like? And my follow-up question will be the training that you went into. We talked about that a little bit earlier. But first, planning. How much work? Why did you choose Mount Kilimanjaro? What was that like?
Sure. I chose Mount Kilimanjaro really, again, because it really centers around what we're trying to accomplish as an organization to better animal, human, and environmental life globally. And what better to do it, or where a better place to do it than in the heart of Africa at the tallest mountain in Africa. Not only showcasing the need there across those domains, but also exemplifying a challenge, the challenge it takes for the average person to make an impact in the world.
Awesome. And you, during the planning of this, you chose to go a different route.
Yeah.
Tell us what route you went, and we'll unfold a little bit more on that.
Sure. So the planning cycle took about 6 months, and we identified local guides in order to directly contribute to the economy there, to put food in those families' mouths. The route I took is the most challenging route that you can take there. It's called the Umbwe route. And it's supposed to take on the average of 6 to 7 days to complete. Fortunately, with our persistence, that is myself and the support team there, we were able to do it in 4 days, but it was no small feat, and it took every bit of what myself and the guides had.
How far were you walking average a day on those 4 days?
Just over 12 miles a day on average. Yeah.
And I guess that answers what was your goal for the climb, is to go that route and do it as quickly as possible. What other goals did you have? What were your thoughts going into it before you took off?
Sure, yeah, the goals going into it before we took off were to help raise awareness and subsequent funds for myCharity, to showcase how, even someone like myself can make a serious impact in the lives of others, especially the lives of others and the environment and the animals as well. What I didn't know that I would find as I was doing this challenge was a severe understanding of the need for us to give back, especially us in privileged environments. What I didn't know was that I would see the impact of global warming on a mountain like Mount Kilimanjaro, all the way in Africa, where you'd think they're the furthest from the effects of pollution, the effects of global warming associated. What I didn't know that I would come across was the impact that global warming had on the animals and the animal life there in the area, or lack thereof now. So I went there for a challenge. I went there to help raise awareness for what we're doing, the important mission with myCharity and the platform. But it was really quite eye-opening to see the reality of the ground, which makes our impact, our contributions, our giving back so much more important.
Awesome. Yeah. And to stay on that for a little bit, you mentioned climate change, you mentioned the animals in the surrounding area, and the disconnect from the Western world and the general, I would say, lens that we see life through, thinking that if this is not something that we see every day and is not directly impacting us, it's not happening. Were you thinking that a little bit beforehand? Had you experienced that years ago? I know obviously you've been super involved with the organization, and it's something that you've obviously been involved with, but what before and after, give me a little bit of information on what you were thinking before you got there, seeing it, and then what it was like coming back.
Yeah, sure. So I, like many, am somewhat siloed working in the corporate world in Western America. I go out, I enjoy nature, I enjoy the environment. I had heard of rumblings of environmental instability across America, but going there in person and hearing a guide whose primary job is there to make money taking people up and down the mountain, tell me that, hey, a lot of this part used to be ice 10 years ago. It's not ice anymore. He's just like, I guess it's global warming. I guess it's because there's massive deforestation that's going on. And so to go up...
My name is James from Tanzania. So what I want to say today, nowadays if you compare like 10 years ago, the glacier was big enough and huge enough, and the ice also were just knowing from that time, from that peak down to the forest, and here we are at the moorland, even down more than here. But today, as you can see, that we can walk without any gloves on our hands, and this is because people, they are cutting trees a lot in town, because this glacier, they are depending on the forest, and there are a lot of trees in town. So now people, they don't know about what is going on. It is because we don't have a lot of trees around the Kilimanjaro mountain, and this is because glaciers are melting a lot day to day, every day. So what I can say, people around the world, we supposed to talk about this and force people plant trees again in order to bring back the big glaciers, not only Kilimanjaro, even other mountains in the world.
The first day that you were there, standing at the bottom of the mountain, you had packed, you'd flown over, you're already there.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind on that first day?
Sure. Well, I was raring to go, frankly, Will. Yeah, I was all full of energy and ready to get going. The first part of the climb was a rainforest, and that rainforest has been significantly impacted, by some of the warming trends as we come to find through that climb. But taking it back to the base camp and getting ready to go, full of energy, full of drive and passion, and ready to kind of start almost jogging up the mountain.
That's amazing. And so how far did you hike on those first days? Well, I guess first days would have been the entire climb, but what was that first day? You went from the very bottom to, I assume, the first base camp. Where was A to B on that first day?
Sure. A to B was from the Umbwe gate, which we'll show you here in the pictures, to the Umbwe camp. And so this went a significant amount of elevation change. Again, through rocky paths, through the rainforest, up to a cliff in the rainforest, which is where our first base camp was. One of the biggest takeaways, I'll say, from that first day, and it's really reflective of life in general, but certainly of trying to make an impact in the world through philanthropy, was you've got to respect the challenge. And I can honestly say I didn't quite respect the challenge. I rushed through the first day. I expended a lot of energy. And at that first night, it really hit me. I certainly had a challenge acclimatizing and sleeping that first night after all that energy exertion. And reality really started to set in. And I think that same kind of reality comes when a person's trying to donate to a cause and donates. They feel good after they donate, but they don't know where that money went. And so the analogy here is, again, respecting what we're doing and showcasing what we're doing. So I made sure to take pictures along the way to showcase the milestones associated, and just like we're able to showcase the milestones associated with our giving through our platform.
Awesome. And so day 2, when you woke up, were you feeling it? How is day 2 going into that second day?
What I knew but came to realize pretty quickly was this second day was going to be one of the harder stretches there. This was the true Umbwe route, which was more technical than other routes that you could do. So lots of scaling of rocks, significant elevation change, and it was a lot of hurdling over rocks and getting up through these various stages, going from the rainforest more to the steppe, if you will, and so really feeling the change in the air, the lack of oxygen associated with it. Beautiful. It was really a gorgeous place, one that we want and need to protect. but just like when trying to make your impact, ran into a little bit of a challenge, started to wear on me.
And then, how many days was the climb overall? Was it 5 days, 4 days?
So the climb was 4 days.
Okay.
Yeah, 3. I don't know if you can call them nights. We didn't sleep all that much, but 4 days total. Ended on the 4th day. There.
Awesome. And so day 3, take us through that. Would have that been the summit day?
Yeah. So day 3 was the summit day. We I think we got in 15 miles on day 3. And so we transitioned from the rainforest to the steppe, if you will, and then into more of a desert area, which this was the part, it was so surprising to me, that used to all be covered by ice and now was really more of a rocky desert-like section. Certainly one of the more challenging days in terms of duration, which again, after you kind of get over the first hard parts of trying to make an impact, anticipating one thing and then having be drastically different, there's a level of endurance after that realization sets in that's really impactful, and that's where consistency comes in. And the mantra that would continue to resurface was 1 foot in front of the other. Just keep going one step. And I encourage everyone, as they're making their difference, as they're doing their challenges, as they're creating fundraising for their nonprofits or through myCharity, to remember that after that first period of challenge, there is an endurance period that really takes the most of the will that you have. And so that's really what was summarized there in that second part, or that 3rd day, if you will. Change in elevation, change in topography significantly, and the need and requirement of significant endurance, 1 foot in front of the other, started to set in.
And so you summited on that day. What was going through your mind once you had gotten to the top?
Yeah, so acclimatizing that quickly, health was a concern. And so right at base camp, I was feeling okay, starting to have some labored breathing, starting to have some elements of my vitals, which became concerning. The oxygen saturation, namely. Blood pressure was a concern as well, having acclimatized so quickly. What was going through my head, to answer your question, was it's time to go, and we're going to finish this thing, and we're not going to think anything else other than completing it. Because if you let the seeds of doubt flow into your mind in any challenge that you're doing, invariably it will derail the train that you're on. So that was what's going through my mind at base camp was, we're doing this, it's going to happen. Might have some health complications on the way down, but we're going to do it.
And what was, you stood up there, we have the picture. How amazing was that? What was, could you see out? What did you see? What were you feeling then?
Yeah, so common practice there is to stay at base camp from around 7 o'clock in the afternoon when you get there. And there's really no sleeping at that level in terms of that low oxygen. Your blood's really filled up with carbon dioxide and a bunch of other things that makes you anxious and not able to go to sleep. So you wait from around 7 p.m. at night, and then you begin the ascent at 11 p.m. going through the night. Really that 11 p.m. to when we summited around 6, 7 a.m. the next day, that was the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life. No sleep. We were up getting close to 30 or so hours from before the base camp when we were walking, and then to the top of it. The sickness really started to set in. The impact to the body really started to set in. The force of will that was required to get to the top was unlike anything that I've ever had to do before. And so to answer your question, when we got to the summit, 2 things were going through my mind. One is, I'm starting to lose it a little bit. 2, let's get over to that flag. And then 3, once I got to the top there, once I got to the summit itself, holding up the American flag, really representing what we do globally for the organization, there was a period of elation and emotion that was unlike anything that's ever happened. And as we were walking back down, I thought 2 things. 1, I gotta get down. I'm gonna start getting sick. And 2, wow, we really did this. We did it for the organization. We raised some good money. But more importantly, we showed what's possible.
And so you came down, you made it back safely to the United States and are back over here. Reflecting on the experience on a overarching theme, what do you think changed in yourself before and after?
Sure. Yeah, so a greater appreciation for the mission that we're doing and its impact. Because again, once our environment is allowed to be affected the way it is, there is no getting it back. The second part was that there's real need in the world, and that we're quite in a privileged place as Americans. And I think there's a responsibility for us to give back as well. I think that the animal life there that's impacted by the environment, that's impacted by some human activities that are associated with that work over there, is all the more important. We want to have these things for our kids to enjoy when we grow up, and their kids and their kids. We have a beautiful planet, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we leave it better than the generation before us. So I'll say a greater understanding of my endurance, ability to get through hard things, ability to persevere, greater appreciation for what we're doing, significant belief, that we can make a difference, and that you can make a difference.
Mm.